Hello my bunnies, it's Tickles Trinkets here, and today I have for y'all another polymer clay tutorial. If you notice my hair looks a little weird, it's because I dyed it. Obviously, look at the roots. It was supposed to be indigo, which was like a blue, purpley color from Colorista. And I don't think I had enough dye, because it just looks brown to me, not purpley blue. And what little bits does look purpley blue looks just purple to me. So, very disappointed with it. But you know, during these times, there's like a bingo chart that says, did you do this during quarantine? Did you do this? Did you do this? And one of them was change your hair, and I'd been wanting to dye my hair for a while, and I've had the products for a while. I did, and I don't like it. I liked the blonde before it, if I can remember. I'm going to insert a picture here. But I don't like this. I mean, it looks okay, it just is not what I wanted. Anyways, tutorial talk. This is the first time I've ever done 3 sculptures in one video, so this took some effort and some oomph and a lot of determination, to say the least. Sorry about that, shirt's riding up on this chair. And I think they all came out super cute. If you've ever watched the Mr. Min show or read some of the books that came out, oh gosh, a long time ago. Trying to get the focus on this little bean here. This is Mr. Bump. They all had different names depending on their personalities. I know there's a little bit of paint or dirt right there, but oh well. He's still pretty dang cute. I loved how the wrapping came out. So cute. And little Miss Sunshine. She was one of the main characters if you read the books or watched the TV show, which ran for a very short time on Nickelodeon. And then, last but certainly not least, Mr. Tickles, which I do think is a little bit creepy because he can extend his arms and tickle people. And if you watch the show that came on Nickelodeon for the short-lived time, the beginning intro song, which I'm not going to put in here because I don't want to get flagged as child content. I'm already taking a risk for making this, but hopefully they'll realize this is art. And I really hadn't seen many people getting flagged that weren't directly oriented as children videos, so I should be fine, but either way, he's a little creepy. In the beginning of this, like, the TV show, his arms, like, stretching around to all the other characters on the show and, like, either tickling them or, like, dodging them to go tickle somebody else. And I get that it's supposed to be cute, but I mean, look at that smile menacingly looking at you. Tell me that doesn't look creepy. It's creepy. At least to me. Excuse me, allergies. But I do love how Little Miss Sunshine came out, even though I forgot to make her nose out of clay and then I had to paint it on. Her nose is 3-dimensional, and not in the books I don't think, but in the show her nose was definitely 3-dimensional, and there's action figures of these from the 70s, so this stuff's been out for a while, and her nose was 3-dimensional on the action figure, which you can also buy on Etsy, not from me, but from somebody else. And unfortunately, I had to paint it. Last but not least, the paint job I did on the base is supposed to look like a faded blue color and then go into a darker blue color, which is really hard to see on here. And it didn't come out exactly how I wanted it. It was supposed to also represent the beginning of the theme song, the beginning intro to the show, where the background is like a faded blue or a faded green, a faded yellow, orange, etc. And then it fades into a darker color and everything's square-shaped. I should have used square bases. I missed an opportunity. But that's fine. I have more circles than I do squares. And I just really wanted to give it that faded color look, but it's not entirely perfect, but I think it came out pretty good. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. This was a very daunting video, so I really hope you guys enjoy it. And stay tuned for a next week video. I can't remember off the top of my head what it was going to be, but I will let y'all guys know in my upcoming video part of my channel. And sometimes I forget, but I'll try to remind y'all. Oh, and this was a request, by the way. I've been talking a long time now, but it was requested by this channel. Thank you so much for requesting this. It was actually pretty fun doing something a little more simple that I could tackle 3 characters at once. So that was really interesting, really fun, and just colorful and crazy. So thank you very much for requesting it. I don't always do requests, or sometimes it takes me a long time to get to them, but thank you. I do appreciate it when I do them, and I hope you appreciate it too. And yeah, I guess that's it. Stay tuned for next week's video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And hit that notification bell if you want to be updated every time I post a video. I love you guys very much, and I will see you in the video. Bye-bye, my bunnies. Let's get into this. Alright, for this tutorial, you're going to need orange and turquoise color. And we're going to start with Mr. Tickles, obviously. And we're going to pre-roll all the balls that we need. And we're going to start with the largest ball in the center, right here. And you're going to put it on your work surface and press it down gently with the palm of your hand, like so. And once you do that, it should be round on the top and flat, and flat on the bottom. Here's what the top looks like. A nice circular semi-sphere kind of thing. And then after that, it should be flat on the bottom. Sorry about that, I was trying to focus. And then next you're going to press it down on the bottom or one of the spots so that it'll be nice and flat on the bottom so it'll stand up straight by itself. Next we're going to use these two balls right here and roll them into very long teardrop shapes, like so. Then once you do that, you can use your thumb and index finger to press the bigger ends of it so it'll press it upward into a foot-like shape. Once you do that, it should look something like this. And if it's not sitting flat down on your desk, just press the top of it gently to make it more flat on the bottom. Next, get some kind of cutting tool and cut it at an angle. And I made these about a little more than a ½ inch long. But Little Miss Sunshine's is only a ½ inch, and Mr. Bump's is even smaller than that by like a centimeter, I think. Next, I put the angle parts under his body to make his legs stick very nice and firmly. Then I set him on the base to make sure things were fitting appropriately. And now we're moving on to his arms. So we took the other two balls and rolled them in the really long snake-like shapes, but still kept the ends pretty round so that you can press them down gently with your fingers. So they'll still be pretty circular shape and round on the top and flat on the bottom. That makes a good hand shape that way. Next, I decided about what size I wanted them, and you can tell by the picture here as to what size I chose to do them. A little more than an inch and a half long. Next, I just cut off the fingers, so to do that, you just cut little triangles over and over and over until you get 4 fingers, because that's what the show has. Then to stick it on the body, I cut a little more off the top to make it angled so that it sits flat on the body. Then pick whatever pose you want with the arms. This is just the pose I went with so he can hold his hat, but you can do what you feel like. Next, wash your hands and then move on to the turquoise color. So the smaller ball you're going to roll out flat and try to keep it as circular as possible. And then the other ball that's round, just go ahead and roll it into a teardrop-like shape and cut off just a little nib of it and keep the bigger half and put the flat part of the bigger half onto the flattened sphere and then put it on his head. Cute, adorable, perfect. Now we're moving on to Mr. Bunk, which you're only going to need the turquoise color again and white. And we're going to start with the turquoise color. And we're going to pre-roll all the balls that we need. And I'm not going to be as descriptive here, like I said, because you can go back to Mr. Tickles' tutorial for more depth on how to make the stuff. I'm only going to show you a brevity of it. For him, he is an egg shape, so just roll it into an egg shape and then press it down gently on your work surface so that it'll stand up flat. You don't have to lay it down and press it with your hand, though. Next, we're going to use the 2 balls in the front to make his feet, which you're going to roll into teardrop shapes and then press again to make the feetsies and cut it off a little bit shorter than Mr. Tickles was. Then I went on ahead and stuck them on the body and moved on to the hands, which were the other 2 balls, and I repeated the same process I did for Mr. Tickle. Then I chose what position I wanted, but obviously his arms are a lot less long. And after choosing the position, I took his arms off because we have to wrap him in bandages. Also, sorry if you're hearing some loud noises, my mom and sister are watching a horror movie. And then he's going to have his face painted on before the bandages, so take out some black paint and whatever tools you use to dot and make the face with, and just paint it on roughly. The mouth doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to cover most of that up with this white clay. Which all you need for the white clay is 1 ball of clay, and it's a little more than a ½ inch in diameter, as you can see here. Pretty good sized ball. And you'll get good on the sizing of balls once you've done this much longer. Because I've been doing this for a couple of years now, so that's how I know the feel and the size of things. Next, I rolled it out as thin as I could possibly get it, and then cut all the excess off and cut them into a bunch of little rectangles. Then I stuck 3 rectangles on the top and 3 on the bottom, just kind of randomly connecting them and wrapping them around. Now we're done with Mr. Bump, so we're going on to Little Miss Sunshine, which I used zinc yellow Primo color because I thought it was the most vibrant yellow I had. Then I pre-roll all the balls I would need. She has a few more balls to compensate for her hair, her little pigtails. Then for the body, do just like you did with Mr. Tickle and make the semi-sphere and press it down gently so it stands. And then we're going to make the legs. Again, make them the same way you did with Mr. Tickle and Mr. Bump, but just cut them off and make them... I made them about the same size as Mr. Tickle's here, but I did cut hers shorter later on. Then after you cut them, stick them underneath the body like so, and just press them firmly, not too firm, just to get them to stick really good to the body. To do her hair on the top, I did a line down the center with this rubber tool to indent it. Then I indented 2 semicircles on the side, and then I turned it around and connected these semicircles on the back of the head as well. And then, sorry about that, I don't know if you can hear my computer dinging or not. God only knows. Then after that, I did the individual strands of hair by going from the roots of her hair downward, over and over, on both sides, obviously, front and back. And then you're done with the hair. So next you're going to move on to her hands, and just like you did with Mr. Bump to make those short stubby hands, you're going to repeat that process right again here. Rolled out the teardrop shape, pressed it flat, cut out the fingers. And then I picked what position I wanted her hands in, and I remember the action figure, she was kind of like putting her hands over her mouth, and that also covers up a little more mistakes if we mess up with the painting. I'm not a painter, I'm a crafter, so I'm not great at it. And then I took her hands off just like I did with Mr. Bump's earlier, because I'm going to have to paint her face on after she bakes. You could do it before, it's just I like to draw what I want. When I'm going to draw a face that precise that you're going to see most of, I want to draw it with pencil first. Next, I glued on the first 2 balls with Loctite glue for her pigtails. Then I took the second 2 balls and glued those to the end of those. Voila, perfect. And then the last 2 balls, which you're going to see right here, you're going to roll these into teeny weeny tiny whiny teardrop shapes. And now the video is going slower than I need it to. Once you do that, they should look like this. Then you're going to press them down gently with your index finger or whatever finger you use to press with. And then once you do that, they should be round on the top and flat on the bottom, just similar to everything else in my life in this video. And then using your index and your thumb, or your index and your other index finger, couple of fingers, pinch it into a triangle shape. Trust me, if you play with Play-Doh, you know how to pinch your fingers into a triangle shape. Then, just using some kind of line tool or dotting or indenting tool, indent 2 lines on both pigtails, front and back. And then I'm going to take this red clay right here, and it is a mixture of different red colored clays, but it doesn't matter. We don't have to be too precise about this. And then I went on ahead and rolled out 3 tiny balls, and I made 2 on each side into the little triangle, similar like her hair, and then pressed them together and then put the ball in between them. Once you do that, you can go ahead and glue them onto her pigtails. So I glued the bottom of the pigtails on, and then we're going to glue the bows right on top of the pigtails parts, like so. Next, we're about ready to bake, but before that, I always use rubbing alcohol, at least 50% alcohol, to go ahead and use cotton swabs and clean it off, make sure there's not too much dust on them. And then I baked it for 350 degrees for 12 minutes. Or if you're doing it in electric, do it for 9 minutes. Then once they're baked and cooled off completely, I went on ahead and took a pencil and drew on the rough drafts of their faces, like so. And that's just so it can look more clean. You know what I mean? You do a rough draft, a sketch, it just comes out way more clean. Then I took black acrylic paint and a dotting tool and a paintbrush to paint on or sketch on their faces. They're not perfect, but hey, they look cute. Then I realized I forgot her nose, so I had to paint on her nose. And I just used yellow acrylic paint and just dotted on her nose just like I did her eyes. Voila. And then while I was waiting on those to dry, I got out the wooden bases and painted them. And to paint them, I wanted, like I said at the beginning of the video, an ombre-like effect. So I painted the darker blue in the middle. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can kind of make it rough like mine because you're going to blend it. Then the lighter blue I scooped into a paint palette because I didn't want the blues mixing in the cups themselves. And then I just painted it and kind of blended it out. It's kind of hard to explain blending, but if you draw, you know what blending is. Next, once all that's dry, I went on ahead and glued her hands to her face with the Loctite glue. So now you can't really see a lot of her imperfections on the mouth, so it kind of works in that way. Then once the bases are thoroughly dry, give it a good long time to dry. I use E6000 to glue them down because it's more secure. Then I use polyacrylic floor varnish from Walmart to glaze them up with 2 coats of glaze. And then you're done. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in my next tutorial. Bye bye, my bunnies.